Hare Krishna. Go ahead. I'm ready for it. I can't wear it during the whole class. It's too thick. I'll wear it. Wow, look how fragrance. Intoxicating. And you get enough of these flowers together next thing. Cartels. Oh, are they there? No. Also, this isn't going to help much over there. Anyway, Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari. Gopi Jana Vallabha. Get the verse. Go, the verse. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari. Jai Mr. Paramahansa, Parudika Acharya, Ashtottara Shri Srimad Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai, ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa, Parudika Acharya, Ashtottara Shri Srimad Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai, Ananda Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Narayanam Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamudire. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the Goddess of Learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. And before we do the next verse, can you open that other door? We get the full benefit of the circulation. Somehow, I thought I'd opened it. It became closed again. Thank you, Prabhu. Nashtaprayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam, by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil, and loving devotion to the Supreme Lord, who is glorified in the best of songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this first day of August 2018 in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We'll be rereading text number 9 with the Sanskrit and English, and then going on to text 10 with the purport. We actually read this verse yesterday, but there's some confusion. Arudrabhagam tamavikshya chadvaram Pitra cha deve kutahelanam vibhav Anadvita yagya sadasya dhishwari Chukopalokan iva dakshyati rusha Palokan iva dakshyati. Sorry, I forgot to mention this is fourth canto, the fourth order, the creation of the fourth order. Chapter 4, Sati quits her body. It's text number 9. Arudrabhagam tamaveksha chadvaram Pitra cha deve kutahelanam vibhav Anadvita yagya sadasya dhishwari Chukopalokan iva dakshyati rusha Arudrabhagam tamaveksha chadvaram Pitra cha deve kutahelanam vibhav Anadvita yagya sadasya dhishwari Chukopalokan iva dakshyati rusha. Arudrabhagam tamaveksha chadvaram Pitra cha deve kutahelanam vibhav Anadvita yagya sadasya dhishwari Chukopalokan iva dakshyati rusha. Just you. Arudrabhagam tamaveksha chadvaram Pitra cha deve kutahelanam vibhav Anadvita yagya sadasya dhishwari Chukopalokan iva dakshyati rusha. Translation. Present in the arena of sacrifice, Sati saw that there were no oblations for her husband, Lord Shiva. Next she realized that not only had her father failed to invite Lord Shiva, but when he saw Lord Shiva's exalted wife, namely herself, Daksha did not receive her either. Thus she became greatly angry, so much so that she looked at her father as if she were going to burn him with her eyes. Text number 10. Jagar sangsmarsha vipannayagera shibadvisham dhuma patashramasmayan Swatejasa bhutaganan samuttitan nigrihya devi jagato bisrinvataha. The followers of Lord Shiva, the ghosts, were ready to injure or kill Daksha, but Sati stopped them by her order. She was very angry and sorrowful, and in that mood she began to condemn the process of sacrificial fruitive activities and persons who are very proud of such unnecessary and troublesome sacrifices. She especially condemned her father, speaking against him in the presence of all. Purport. The process of offering sacrifices is especially meant to satisfy Vishnu, who is called Yagyesha, because he is the enjoyer of the fruits of all sacrifice. The Bhagavad Gita 5.29 also confirms this fact. The Lord says, Bhoktaram Yagyatapasam. He is the actual beneficiary of all sacrifices. Not knowing this fact, less intelligent men offer sacrifices for some material benefit. To derive personal material benefits for sense gratification is the reason persons like Daksha and his followers perform sacrifices. Such sacrifices are condemned here as a labor of love without actual profit. This is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam. One may prosecute the Vedic injunctions of offering sacrifices and other fruitive activities, but if by such activities one does not develop attraction for Vishnu, they are useless labors. One who has developed love for Vishnu must develop love and respect for Vishnu's devotees. Lord Shiva is considered the foremost personality amongst the Vaishnavas. Vaishnavanam yata Shambhu. Thus, when Sati saw that her father was performing great sacrifices but had no respect for the greatest devotee, Lord Shiva, she was very angry. This is fitting. When Vishnu or a Vaishnav is insulted, one should be angry. Lord Chaitanya, who always preached non-violence, meekness and humility, also became angry when Nityananda was offended by Jagai and Madai, and he wanted to kill them. When Vishnu or a Vaishnava is blasphemed or dishonored, one should be very angry. Narottam Das Thakur said, Krodha Bhakta Dveshi Jane. We have anger, and that anger can be a great quality when directed against a person who is envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead or his devotee. One should not be tolerant when a person is offensive towards Vishnu or a Vaishnava. The anger of Sati towards her father was not objectionable, for although he was her father, he was trying to insult the greatest Vaishnava. Thus, Sati's anger against her father was quite applaudable. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandjana Shalakaya Chukshu Unmilatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and to all members of Sri Parampara. So, as is typical for those who are controlled in the modes of nature, which Daksha certainly is, he hasn't thought through what the result of his insulting Shiva is going to be. I mean, clearly he's alienated his daughter. He knew that from the other sacrifice where Shiva didn't stand up, and all of it began with the cursing and counter-cursing. But this latest offense, I mean, now he doesn't even greet his daughter. He's completely seeing her in relation to Shiva, who he's decided is a low person. And so he's alienated his own blood relationship this way. But he's not at all foreseeing what's going to happen. That she's such a powerful figure, really, that she's ready to self-immolate just to get rid of her relationship with Daksha, which is, after all, a bodily relationship. So this is one of the pitfalls, one of the facts of life of those who are in the modes of nature. They can't foresee the results of what they're doing, especially when you get into the lower mode of ignorance and you're in anger. Daksha was so angry at Shiva and controlled by this false pride and all these things. So this is the nature of the material world, is that you go along and your things seem to be working okay, and then eventually they're not okay. Something happens. One of the threefold miseries: someone insults you, your wife dies, or she goes off with somebody else, or some horrible thing happens. And you react to it in the modes of nature, and you're not considering what the future is going to be. You go and kill somebody who smiled at your wife or something. That happens all the time, and your whole life is ruined in like an instant. So that's what we're seeing here. Throughout the Bhagavatam, you'll find, and one of the main lessons here, and repeated again and again, is the trap of performing sacrifices in order for material gain, rather than for the sake of Vishnu. This comes up in the Bhagavatam. I was thinking when I was reading this purport before a class. In the second chapter, there's that famous verse, Vivasayatmaka buddhi ekeha kurunandana bahushakena buddhayoga visayanam. Vivasayatmaka buddhi. This is a one-pointed intelligence in the service of the Lord. Ekeha bahushakena. But those whose intelligence is not one-pointed, many-branched, they have many subjects for thinking. Then the next two verses describe what we're reading here. Yami mam pushpitam vacham prabodanta vipashchata ved vararata pata nanyarasti divana kamatmana svargapara janma karma palapadam kriya vishesh bahulam bhogaishwarikatim pati. So those who are so-called knowers of the Vedas, Veda Vada Rata. This word Rata is interesting. You look it up in the dictionary, and usually it means practitioners. But idiomatically, it's come to mean the same thing we find in the Ishopanishad twice. So-called worshippers, so-called possessors of knowledge. You'll see it twice in the two different verses in the Isha. So, Veda Vada Rata Pata, they think they're following the Vedas, but they're following the Karmakanda section of the Vedas for material benefits. And they think that these flowery language of the Vedas describing the glories of going to heaven and all of these elaborate sacrifices is all there is. Yami man pushuna prabhadan javi pashtadaha. What does it say? Yami man pushvidam vacha prabhadan javi pashtadaha veda varan nanya rastiti varan. They say there's nothing else, that this is the substance of the Vedas. And on that basis, they perform these elaborate sacrifices, all for the point of Bhoga and Aishwarya. So they can enjoy some heavenly and more wealthy position in heaven. But then the next verse is memorable, because it applies to all aspiring bhaktas. Bhoga Aishwarya prasaktanam taya apadita chetasam vyavasayatmaka buddhi samadho navadhiyate. The firm determination, and Prabhupada always brings it all back to devotional service. The firm determination, one-pointed fixation on performing devotional service does not take place in the heart of one who is too much attached to opulence and enjoyment, and whose mind is bewildered by such things. Taya apadita chetasa. So we see that Daksha, his apadita chetasa, that his mind has been stolen away by Bhoga and Aishwarya, his own position, and the flowery words of the Vedas, and performing these fancy sacrifices to even get more of the same. And so he's completely bewildered. Same thing we find in the 7th chapter, after that verse, Bahunam Dharmanamante Jnanavam, those who, after many, many lifetimes of cultivating knowledge, one who's truly in knowledge surrenders unto me, understanding that there's nothing but me, Vasudeva. Such a great Mahatma is very rare. But you know the next verse, Kamais Taistar, Rita Jnana, Papadyante Anya Devata, that those who are by different material desires, their intelligence and their knowledge is stolen away. Rita Jnana, because he's talking about knowledge here. One who's really a knowledge surrenders to me. But one who's too much involved in material things, like Daksha, knowledge is stolen away. And they surrender unto other gods. They get into the materialistic worship of the demigods. So this is a recurring lesson in the Bhagavatam. Now, Prabhupada quotes a verse here, and though he doesn't quote the Sanskrit, he refers to it in the 2nd chapter, 1st canto. And this is this chapter which describes what real Dharma is. What is that Dharma, ask the sages, that can truly satisfy the self, the self-supersedity? And you have that famous, verse we should have, Savai Pungsam Paro Dharmo Yato Bhaktir Hokshaje Ahaitukya Patayata Yadma Supersedity. So that is the supreme Dharma, whatever it is, that awakens actual love for Adhokshaja. And that's a very generic name for God, this particular verse. It simply means he who is beyond the realm of our mind and senses. That's what Adhokshaja means. So you need faith. You have to be under the guidance of someone who's already a bhakta. But then he gives a caveat. But such service to really satisfy the self must be free of material motivation and uninterrupted. Right? And then after describing how wonderful this service is, that simply by engaging in service to Vasudeva, one automatically gets knowledge and detachment. And then the verse after that is the one that Prabhupada refers to, which is pertinent today. It says, how does it go? Vishvakshena Katasya. Oh yeah. Dharmak swanushtita pungsham Vishvaksena katasyak notpariyed yadidatim shrama evahi kevalam. That's the shrama, useless labors. One may prosecute the Vedic injunctions. That's one's own duty within one ashram. Dharma, it's actually suanushtitak. You may do it very nicely. That word appears in the Gita also, suanushtitak. But vishakshena katasyak notpariyed yadidatim. But if your attraction for vibrations, for sounds, for glories of Vikshakshen or Vishnu does not arise, it's all just useless labor. You've just increased your entanglement within the material energy. You haven't really progressed in the soul's journey back to Godhead, or getting out of this material world. So that's this position of Daksha now. He's completely entangled by these elaborate sacrifices. The last one was like a 1,000-year-long sacrifice. The first thing, that Siva was sitting there. Now he's got more sacrifices going on. But all of it is just feeding his false ego. Last night we were reading from the 16th chapter. Now Daksha is not a demon, but he's manifesting some of those same qualities of being very proud of his position and disregarding the glories of the Vaishnava, which is like suicide. You know, he gets killed here. He gets reborn with the body of a goat, but he dies. So this is what's being spoken here. And understanding, I mean, it starts with the third chapter. Yagya yagyarthat karmano yatra lokoyam karma bandhana. Yagyarthat means for the sake of Yagya or Vishnu, everything we do, every act that we do must be in the mood of a sacrifice for Vishnu. Otherwise, whatever else we're doing is binding us to this world. That's what that verse means. Otherwise, lokoyam karma bandhanaha. If you're not sacrificing the fruits of your activity for the pleasure of Krishna, and with that conscious intention, then what are you doing? Well, you want to enjoy the fruits, and that's binding you to this world. So that's simple, lesson of Bhagavad Gita. Daksha has deviated from it, and then the other point here is that this anger toward those who blaspheme the devotees is very appropriate. Sati is she's kind of cast aside her role as she already cast aside her role as the submissive wife because she's defied Shiva, But now she's suddenly showing her power. After all, she's also like the material energy personified, and she's already renounced her relationship with Daksha, and that's why she looks at him like she's going to burn him, and she blasts him. The ordinary daughter doesn't do that, but she's beyond that now, and she'll have this whole little soliloquy here, blasting Daksha in various ways and completely correctly. And then she'll top it all off by self-immolating, which really does. I mean, it says here that the first verse, it said the second one we read, 10, that the ghosts, it wasn't just the ghosts, it was all the followers, the Bhutas and Pretas, and I think Virabhadra, I think he comes later when he hears that she self-immolated, but he's like super powerful. But they're ready to go after Daksha, but she's holding him back. But when she self-immolates, there's nothing to hold her back, and there's this massacre, kind of. So it all escalates. See, this is what happens when the mode of passion and ignorance becomes prominent, and these terrible insults take place, and violence. Violence can also be through words. And it just escalates like a fire, like we have these forest fires, it starts with a little spark, but it turns into a great conflagration. And that's the danger of not carefully watching, one's mind so that one doesn't get caught up in this. So Prabhupada makes it very clear that this is the proper use of anger, is when the devotees are blasphemed, or Vishnu is blasphemed, or there's some threat to the devotees. Then it's proper to show anger and be very forceful with the offender. So, any questions on these points? Yes, Prabhu. Go ahead. Vaishnavanam Yata Shambhu. Well, we should remember that there's a whole sampradaya coming down from Shiva. And that, I think it's just explained in subsequent, I read ahead a little bit in purports, how he, if you read in this fourth canto, in a little while we're going to read about the Pachetas going off and meeting Lord Shiva. And then he teaches them a song, the song of Shiva. I remember when I was proofreading this canto back in 73, 74. And this song is highly praised before you get to the song. You know, and it was so highly praised I started memorizing it. I got about 7, 8 verses memorized and never finished it. But it's all bhakti. You know, it's all a prayer. It's highlighted by this prayer that Shiva utters to please let me see your lotus feet. He's speaking to Krishna. You know, and you who are the greatest guru. I forget the Sanskrit now. So Shiva is a great devotee, and he gives shelter to the ghosts and the pretas and all of these people, so that they'll at least be worshipping him and have some. He'll be able to purify them in some ways. In other words, he's allowing the lowest of the low some access to himself, and thus good guidance. So this is why he's seen as the greatest of Vaishnavas. You know, I haven't read a commentary on that. I could probably look it up and see. I don't know what Prabhupada has given. This verse is actually in the 12th canto, I believe. So we get that line. What it's saying is, just as the Ganges is the best of all rivers, and the Himalayas are the best of all mountains, and Shiva is the best of all Vaishnavas. That's what it is. So I'm not sure more than that. But he has a role to play in Vrindavan. He takes the role of Gopishwar, right? He's kind of the guard, isn't it? You know, so he's there even in Krishna's intimate Leela. For protecting the Dham. So I'd have to, you know, that's... Yes, he saved the world. You know, very compassionate. Yeah. Well, you should definitely not listen to it. In other words, at least separate yourself from it, you know, because it gets complicated, because that person himself may be quite senior, you know, and so it becomes complicated. But my strategy, and I've always noticed this with Radhanath Swami too, is he always tries to glorify. You know, if you're glorifying, because I mean, it's true that someone may go off, deviate a little bit and do something, you know. But oftentimes there's a whole lot of really good things that they've done, or you know, I've done. So you try to keep on the positive level if you can influence that way, and that way, that whole mood of criticism won't arise. But it depends. It's a judgment call, you know, whether you should say something or not. If it's just a subtle something in the mind, and you know, then it's best to, especially if it's a senior person, that to separate yourself from that, and maybe if you feel strongly enough about it, mention it to someone else who's senior who can deal with it, you know, like that. But the thing is, a temple is a kind of a delicate mood, an atmosphere that can easily be corrupted or affected by things like that. So it's important to keep things on the positive side as far as possible, being a good example oneself, and you know, use your best judgment if something is getting very disruptive, to, say something or have someone else do something. It gets it's very difficult to do that, to keep that mood all the time. But the thing that helps us do it is, as I say, if the atmosphere is very powerful spiritually, then that kind of negates it. It's just like you come out in the sun, darkness really can't do anything. And this kind of darkness, when you get into the critical mat. So if devotees were doing doing kirtan and preaching and keeping things in the atmosphere itself, will tend to tamp that down. But at least if you're disturbed by it, then try to separate yourself. That's always the first strategy. All right, let's read a little bit about Gopal Bhatta Goswami. Very important Acharya in our line, one of the 6 Goswamis. Okay. Shri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, the son of Venkata Bhatt, actually Venkata Bhatt, a Sri Vaishnava Brahmin, appeared in Sri Rangam, South India. Lord Chaitanya once stayed for 4 months in his home and converted the family to Gaudiya Vaishnavism. One of the members was Prabodhananda Saraswati, the uncle, right? A mere boy at this time, Gopal personally served the Lord. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu treated him very affectionately, giving his remnants to him and blessing him to become an Acharya. During his 4-month stay, Lord Chaitanya developed a close friendship with Venkata Bhatt, which Krishnadas Kaviraj describes as Sakya Ras. Freely conversing with each other, they would often laugh and joke together. One day, in a humorous mood, Lord Chaitanya asked Venkata, "Why does your worshipable goddess of fortune, Sri Lakshmi Devi, abandon the happiness of Vaikuntha and her service to her Lord Narayan? Why does she go to Vrindavan and perform severe austerities to attain the association of my Lord Gopal, the cowherd boy of Braj?" And Venkata replied, "I can't understand these mysteries, but you, being the Supreme Lord himself, can surely enlighten me." So Lord Chaitanya says, "Lord Krishna has one unique quality," said Lord Gauranga. "He attracts the hearts of everyone with his personal conjugal love, or madhurya. Lord Narayan has only 60 of the 64 transcendental qualities, but Krishna has all 64, and all of them are saturated with his unique quality of madhurya, honey sweetness. The Supreme Lord Sri Krishna attracts the mind of Lakshmi Devi, but Lord Narayan can never attract the minds of the Vrajagopis. In Vrajalila, Krishna, disguised as Lord Narayan, once appeared before the gopis who were searching for him. Seeing Lord Narayan, the gopis said, they bowed down. He says, "O Lord Narayan, pranams. Where did Krishna go? Did you see him?" They weren't interested in worshipping. By following the gopis, who spontaneously love Krishna without awareness of his godhood, one can attain Krishna. The Shrutis worshipped Krishna in the ecstasy of the gopis. This is the personified Vedas. There's some verses about that. Following in their footsteps, they received gopi bodies to join Krishna in the rasa dance. But Lakshmi wanted to enjoy Krishna, but retain her spiritual form as Lakshmi. Without following the gopis' footsteps, no one can attain Krishna. After receiving initiation from Sri Prabodhananda Saraswati, that's his uncle, Gopal Bhatta went to Vrindavan and became a dear friend of Rupa and Sanatana Goswamis. He did bhajan in Vrindavan for 45 years, mostly at Radhakund. On pilgrimage, he obtained 12 Shalagram Shilas. Later, the Damodar Shila manifested himself as the beautiful Radha Raman deity. Now, was that he was praying he wanted to have a deity to be able to dress? And then he woke up one day and there he was. I have some pictures I can show you, Radha Raman. One of the things that always I find remarkable about that deity is that you can see the little teeth. And then if you look at different pictures, sometimes you can see him and sometimes you can't. Anyway, maybe it's a little different angle, but it looks like sometimes he's showing him, sometimes he's not. I don't see any other deities with teeth showing. Unique. So he manifested himself as the beautiful Radha Raman deity. Now, just so everyone who's here, you know already, but Radha Raman is a name for Krishna. A lot of devotees think it's a name for Radha and Krishna. No, the name is Radha Raman, the enjoyer of Radharani. I remember once I worked on this book. Everyone's seen it, the Darshan book, the deities pictures. We're in there also. The deities are from around the world, and they had a little copy describing them. So I was editing this book, and somewhere in Italy, I think, they had their beautiful deities, and they called them Radha Raman. So wait a minute, you got Radharani there, and you got Krishna, you got a Radharani. So I suggested changing, that Radha Raman. And there's a huge uproar. No, we've always called him Radha Raman. You can't change the name. It's okay, it's your deities, But that Radha Raman is one name for Krishna, who stands there alone. It's understood Radharani is there in a subtle form, right? Since 1542, Radha Ramanji has been worshipped with pure devotion, following precise Shastric rituals. Lord Chaitanya ordered Gopal Bhatta to write a book to check the spread of pseudo-loving rasas and negligence in Vaidhi Bhakti. In corroboration with, not corroboration, I need some editing. In cooperation with Sanatana Goswami, he compiled the Hari Bhakti Vilas, the authorized book explaining the ritual and devotional practices of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. Now there's one section in that book that deals with the holy name, especially the Hare Krishna mantra. There's so many amazing verses about the glories of the Hare Krishna mantra, like hundreds. I remember I have them. Explain the ritual and devotional practice of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. It's especially for householders, I think, right? Prabhupada said, most of them. He also wrote Sat Kriya Deepika and the outline for Sri Jiva Goswami's Shat Sandarbhas. Now, Sat Kriya Deepika is about samskaras, is it? Oh. Samskara, yeah. Gopal Bhatta eternally serves Srimati Radharani as one of her Ashta Manjaris, Guna Manjari. His samadhi is within Radha Ramanaji's temple compound behind the appearance place of the deity. Shri Gopal Bhatta Goswami initiated Gopinath Pujari Goswami, a lifelong brahmachari who served Radha Ramanji for his whole life. Gopal Bhatta Goswami also initiated Srinivasacharya and many other stalwart Vaishnavas. That's what we have on Gopal Bhatta Goswami. A very important acharya in our line. Okay. Any questions, comments? Go ahead. Oh, I'll repeat the question. Go ahead. I'm sorry? Well, it just mentions two. He initiated Gopinath, who I never heard of, a lifelong brahmachari, and Srinivasacharya. You didn't think he... Not initiated, but instructed. He was instructed. The actual initiation is different. What did it say about him? Venkat, the father. Yeah. I think it's just father and son. Yeah, it's just father and son. Well, he was the brother, I guess. He was the brother of Venkat, because he's Gopal Bhatta's uncle, right? So he did? All of his relatives. But I think it's the son, because the son already has kind of a strong... anyway, it's too intimate. It's much more intimate that way. Yeah, there's too many considerations. You might not get heavy enough with your disciple. Yeah. By Shivaram. Yeah, the father, son, mother, son is too much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari.